If something happened to you, who would raise your kids? All right, so today's episode, we're going to be talking about estate planning for parents with minor children. Now, we're mainly going to be focusing on young children. So if something happened to you, who would be raising your kids? Most parents think the answer is obvious. My family will take care of them. Well, unfortunately, that's not always going to be the case. Some situations we don't have family in the jurisdiction where we live. A lot of families are spread out, even across the state. It can get complicated. But if you have not taken steps to legally name a guardian, to put things in writing, a judge may end up deciding who's going to raise your children. And sometimes people will start fighting for custody, and the last of the parents would. Sometimes people end up fighting over the children, and this may wind up being the last people that you would have chosen to be your child's guardian. We have situations where sometimes our family members are not the people we would prefer to raise our kids because of whatever family histories we have. And we may have very good friends who we think would be great to be our kids' guardians, that they could grow up with their friends. So those are things that a lot of times, if those things are not documented, talked about, and written down, it can be a fight and it can be a major issue. The reality that most parents don't know is that you just assume things will work out. But that's what actually happens. But here's what actually happens when parents pass away without naming a guardian. Family members may petition the court for a guardianship. Now you've got a court proceeding. And if multiple people are trying to get custody of your child, the court may have to decide between them. Sometimes, if the process is contested, it can get very complicated, and it can really make the whole family dynamic very uncomfortable and not really what you want for your kids. I've seen situations where grandparents and siblings and extended family members all believed that they would be the guardian. And unfortunately, by the time the court got involved, the parents there was no longer clarity as to what the parents really wanted or who would have been the best person to do it. Now, there's different types of guardians. The guardian of the person. Under Texas law, parents can nominate somebody to be the guardian for the minor through a will or through a declaration of guardian. This allows parents to nominate who will raise their child if both parents pass away. One of the things that's important to realize is that if both parents pass away, each parent has authority. Each parent has their rights. Whether they're still married or there's a divorce, both parents still have their parental rights. The court will generally prefer whoever the parent has nominated. So once both parents have passed, that preference will go to the person who's been nominated. Now, the second issue that's important is even when parents nominate a guardian, there's another issue that many families overlook. Who's going to handle the children's money, what they inherit? Children cannot legally inherit property outright. If a child inherits money without proper planning, the courts may have to establish a guardianship for the estate. That means court supervision of all those funds, requires annual accountings, and approvals for all expenditures. Now, this can be really expensive and restrictive. Let me give you a story and a scenario. If somehow parents pass away and this child is going to inherit $100,000. Let's just use that as an example. That $100,000, basically, let's say that that's an insurance payout. That insurance company is not going to write a check to that child. And if you've named a guardian, the insurance company is not going to write a check to that guardian because they're going to want to make sure there is court supervision of what happens to those funds. So they're going to require a guardianship to be initiated. So far, not good. But that's not even the worst part. The next thing is, well, now we've got this guardianship set up. It was expensive. There's a lot of testing, a lot of learning classes, videos, criminal background checks that are done for the guardian, or whoever's going to take on this role is going to have to go through all of those things. Now, once they're appointed, the court's going to say, okay, great. You need to put up a bond, and I want all the money to be in the registry of the court so that you can't touch it unless I have approved it. So now this $100,000 is locked up in the registry of the court, and I guarantee you it's going to be getting paid maybe money market interest rates or savings account interest rates, very low interest. But wait, it gets worse. Now, the child doesn't have access unless you go to the court and ask permission, and you have to have a real good reason to access that money for that child in order for the court to be disposed to let you have that money. So that's a problem. But wait, it gets worse. When the child turns 18, that child goes to the court and says, hey, court, give me my money. I'm 18 now. So imagine back when you were 18, if you got $100,000, how would you use that money? As a mature adult, you might invest it. You might use it as a down payment for a house. You might do something like that. But as an 18-year-old, you may say, I'm going to buy myself my dream sports car, or as close to it as I can get, with $100,000, and then pretty much spend it with my friends. Next thing you know, he's got a car that he can't maintain and no more friends because he's out of money. So that's one of the really, really tough situations that can happen when there isn't planning for these minor children. It's not right now. It's not even the guardianship. It's the fact that they're going to receive something outright at a very young age without experience and without any supervision at all. So oftentimes in these situations, we will recommend using trusts, whether it's within a will or individual trust or as part of a revocable trust plan. These are very important. The trust outside of a will is much better because you want to kind of avoid the probate process to begin with. Now, what does the trust help with? Well, the trust allows parents to determine who's going to manage the money, who do they trust to handle the funds, and you can put restrictions as to how that money is used. You can also determine when that child is going to receive those funds. Now, an example of how parents may instruct a trustee to use the funds is, hey, education. Hey, my kids are in private school. I want them to be able to continue being in that private school during their elementary, high school, and middle school and high school years. Why? You want to keep that continuity, and your guardian that you've appointed, that's a huge burden for them to have to take on if that's not something that they're able to handle financially. This takes that burden away, allows the trustee to pay for the education. Healthcare, if there is any kind of health crisis, you want to make sure that there's not a limitation because of money that your child is not getting the health care that they need. Living expenses, maintaining the lifestyle that they were used to or as close to it as possible in a new environment. You want to make sure that they have that continuity, because change and sudden change is one of the things that create that problem. And then as they get older, you can have that be there to start a business, a down payment for a house, things like that can be worked into the estate plan, into the trust, so that there is a pretty good idea as to what can be done with these funds. Now, other parents may prefer to have staggered distributions. Instead of giving the child full control at 18 or 21, the inheritance can be doled out over time. Sometimes a chunk can go out at 25, other times another chunk at 30, another at 35. This protects young adults from receiving a large amount of their inheritance before they are financially mature. Now, I'm not a big fan of this because in certain trusts, we can provide some asset protection, and we can also prepare some divorce protection. Make sure that what they receive as they grow older and develop in their lives, what the nest egg you've provided for them can be protected from them commingling assets or exposing their assets to litigation or lawsuits. You want to make sure you have backup guardians. Unfortunately, nobody knows how long we're going to be here. People don't always die in the expected order. And sometimes there can be changes in life situations where the person you named first might have moved to another state, and it's really impractical for them to do this. Relations change. So your friends that you were really close to got to transfer to another state, and now that relationship is kind of faded away. So you want to have multiple backups, and you also want to remember, if those situations change, you want to make sure you address and update the documents. So what's the key takeaway from today's episode? Okay, if you have minor children, your estate plan should clearly answer these questions. Who raises your children when you're not here? Who manages their money when you're not here? And when do you want your children to receive their inheritance, and in what way do you want them to receive that? Now, if those questions aren't answered, the court will have to answer them for you. And unless you're best buds with the judge, they're not going to really know what you would want. They're going to have to figure it out based on the testimony of different people. It may not wind up being exactly what you need or what really you think is best for your children. Now, if you found this helpful, I'd ask that you follow the podcast, hit the like and subscribe. Make sure you don't miss any future episodes. If you want to learn more about estate planning strategies and asset protection and things that we can use to protect our children and to avoid probate, you can attend my webinar, Bulletproof Your Legacy. We have that ongoing. Also, we have monthly webinars on various topics that we'll put in the link in the bio below that you can sign up for. And in the live webinars, you'll be able to ask questions at the end to get your personal situation. And if we can't get your answer, you can go ahead and schedule a time to meet with me or one of our attorneys. Until the next episode, I look forward to seeing you again. Thanks. Bye.